And then the first item on our agenda is just the minutes from the 12th. So I hope everyone got to take a look at those. Any changes? Okay. Maybe you want to make a motion?
The motion to approve the minutes is presented for
December 12th.
December 12th.
Yeah.
Second. Moved and seconded. I'll do a roll call vote. Julie Chalfant,
Yes.
Brian Harrington.
Yes.
Julie Caswell,
Yes.
Jim Milchi, yes. Unanimous.
Okay, and then next item was just to do the budget update. So I'm gonna pull up copy that Rob just sent me. Take a look at that. Plastic, I gotta sign myself permission. Worse. Better for you guys. No, it's worse. Yeah, well, it's fine.
There you go.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, Rob, you want to just walk us through where we're at?
Yeah, really not a whole lot has changed on the budget front since the last time we met. Really, the only updated number is, hey, Tom, is, we have a handful of typically small change orders that we've approved.
Hey, heavy hitters, the heavy hitters, yeah.
And that's 250. I was just talking about budget update. We really just started, so the timing. So yeah, not a ton has changed since last month. The only updated cost on the spreadsheet is approved change orders to date. So since the last time we've met, we've approved a relatively small number of change orders, all pretty small in size. So to date, we have approved that red font there, 161,187. I think that's up about, I will say 8,000 to 10,000 from the last time we've met. But with that, I don't have any new expenditures to report. Nothing's changed on owner expenses since then. So with that, it's just an updated approved change orders resulting in the revised bottom line, which we still see as pretty strong. Construction contingency balance as of today, 1,403,913, with total uncommitted funds of $1,669,296.
Are there any more change orders sitting out there?
Yeah, we do have a few that have been submitted that are pending that we're still chewing on. Actually, I didn't even get this at logs, but I'm. About that.
What's wrong, man?
You looking at?
Yeah, I can scroll that.
So I have 3 highlighted and pending. One related to the elevator, specifically to the electrician scope related to the elevator. That's PCO number 33 for $9,257. We could get into the details on that in a second, but basically as a part of the submittal process on reviewing the exact details from the manufacturer on the elevator, it was discovered that we needed to essentially increase the amperage or circuitry related to that specific elevator that was not in the original scope. So we provided comments to WJ Mumford, the general, on the number right now. We're kind of requested some additional information on the electrician's backup. It seemed a little inflated, so we're kicking that around right now. Should be sent about in the next few days, hopefully. So that one's pending. The biggest one would be PCO 35, the seismic bracing. I know we talked about the last time we met. This is a change that the contractor submitted. We're not quite ready to take a deep dive into this PCO just yet because the design is not quite buttoned up yet, or, I mean, it is and it isn't. We're just waiting for some final clarity from the engineering ends of things before we commit to the number. So we're holding that one for now. And then the last one, a downspout size change, which is PVC to cast iron, is that it?
They're slightly larger, but we also think there should be some credit in here, so this one just doesn't seem fully baked.
Yeah, so. Pretty low priority, that one being PCO 36. But we're gonna send some comments back to the contractor. We're gonna meet with them in a few minutes, so we'll probably get into it a little bit with them. But, so yeah, total pending of $35,391.
So I'm just gonna complain because I'm gonna complain. So this is yet another elevator cost that was not anticipated that our contractor is gonna get a credit for, but we're gonna get billed on.
So I was very curious about this. Like, I anticipated, so Tim's gonna ask this question. So I asked my engineer specifically, is this because of the elevator change, the substitution? And he said no, that essentially engineers work from kind of these basis of design drawings and, you know, documentation for electrical requirements, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
They did their design around that. They do it as a basis of design. So that's where he called out, it requires this much amperage, and that's going to come from this panel. It turns out that elevator manufacturers often do not provide specifics for your project, and often the numbers change when you get the actual submittal. And so that's what happened. The amperage was higher, which meant that not only did they need to, you know, provide bigger breakers, but it couldn't come from this panel here. It come from this panel over here. They needed to run some conduit. So the answer is unanticipated, but not because of the substitution.
Yeah.
And again, to echo what Rob said, so we definitely agree that this is a legitimate change order, but the costs seem inflated. So I can sit back and forth about that.
And this is another thing that I just, because my mind works a specific way, we have ARPA money built into this 8.7. And if we back out the 650,000 from ARPA, we come down to 8,075,000. So the spread on what we have looks tremendously different to me. We don't have 1.7 million. We've got, you know, smaller number. It's, you know, in the million range.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense to everyone else, but
Yeah, in my mind, if you were to take that much out, it would come from contingency at one point.
yeah, no, I'm just, just, it's really, it's like paying the architects, paying the OPM. That's what that 650,000 is for. So it's not like, maybe it's all the same. Maybe it's all the same. I just have this in my mind that ARPA is different, and so it's not like we have 1.7 million that we haven't attributed to something. But maybe it's a bad brain cell, not thinking about this properly.
So, sorry, is there a potential for 650,000 to come out of this budget? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm
Just
just
the way
saying
it's
that
allocated.
it's just saying that maybe it is built in there. Is your fee built into this 6 million, or is this just the contractor?
Everything is.
Okay.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, in green, you got P3, and in
Right.
pink, you got number.
Okay, so that removes that as an issue. It's just I've been thinking about this in a certain way, and I wanted to make sure that, okay.
I did just have a question about the seismic bracing.
Mhm.
We're still moving ahead. And if we have to do seismic bracing, that means having to go backwards a bit. So how much are we charging ahead here that we're going to have to remove or redo in order to come up with the required bracing?
Hopefully very little.
Heather, we have a number here already, so I'm assuming the contractor has looked at this, and is that a hard number, or is that still a soft number?
I think for your purposes, it's a soft number. So, the contractor tried their best to help us out, and I do think it's helpful. They took a drawing, they went into the building, they said, here's our best guess for where seismic bracing needs to go. Here's how we would place it with doing a minimum of disturbance to what's up. But they are not able to run calculations to get it
I was
all
gonna
the
say,
way,
don't you need an engineer kind of
They can't
hand in
get it
hand with
over
that discussion?
all the way over the finish line.
Yeah.
So
Right.
at that point, they handed it to us. So the good news is we have a drawing where the contractor's saying, we think we can do a minimum of disturbance if we do it this way.
Right.
It's now gonna go to our engineer to run calculations, say, yes, that's the right number of bracing, blah, blah, blah. And the hope, I mean, the contractor, they did that for a reason. The hope is that it's close to a rubber stamp of very few modifications to what they've already proposed, and that there's not a lot of moving backwards.
I mean, it's not a huge number, but it's still not insignificant.
And so to address that, that number was the contractor saying, I did those drawings, here's what it would cost to do what's in my drawings. And we said, well, that's great, but we don't know that we're doing exactly what's in your drawings. So that's why it's a soft number.
Okay. Go up or down? Probably more likely to go up.
Undetermined, actually. They did it, they determined bracing by, I think, kind of a rule of thumb, where it actually happens through calculations. And I don't know what the difference is going to be between that.
And I assume that since we had this experience in the old building, the new building, we're gonna look at this carefully if the bracing is required.
Yes. And yes, there will be some bracing required. Nothing is up yet, so it's
That's
kind of just
easy.
not a big deal.
It's
Yeah.
not going backwards, but
Right.
if they come out of the old building, and they just focus on the addition and then they start putting up sheetrock and stuff, that's when I'm gonna get nervous if we haven't resolved this question.
Correct. We need a resolution. There's,
And so has EDM come back with their redesign yet? We're still waiting on that.
we are still waiting on that because at this moment, we are still waiting for the contractor to give us a complete set of documents, which is something we have been waiting on for weeks. On the one hand, they've been trying to help us out by doing that layout. On the other hand, I think they kind of didn't understand the full scope of the task, and I think it has definitely delayed things a bit. So
That's
we're
the shop drawings.
the shop drawings, product data, and their original hydraulic calculations.
Is there
So,
some way we can help them, or someone can help them? I know how these stalls go.
John at WJ, I think, really understands this, understands how important this is, and is pushing them. The contractor, in my opinion, only really showed us his cards last week and said, I'm not gonna be able to do what I need to do. And so
Okay.
since then, that was only Friday maybe, that we were able to get on the same page with John and say, John, here's what we need. And he understood that and said, I'm gonna push for that. So,
So hope
20 minutes, whatever we have.
Okay.
What was the main driver? What was the switch between the categories? What was the code driver?
it's complicated and it's in the ASME,
Okay.
so I won't pretend to know the numbers,
Yeah.
but it had to do with the soils, and the geotech report
Okay,
was different.
so we're likely to see this. Yeah, the addition is likely gonna be in the same states. So often, an addition is treated as an entirely different building. If it's soil. Soil.
And masonry building related.
Trying to think back to the geotech, was it more fill or something than they anticipated when we did that? So something else.
Think so. We did excavate the full footprint.
Yeah, and I think
Right.
it wasn't words as much as it was numbers. I think they ran some numbers about depth of whatever kind, and the numbers just came out slightly over what was expected. And in fact, in the new code, which we've had a back and forth with, those numbers are actually below the threshold. So in the world we live in today, those numbers were slightly lower.
Did they do borings in the area where the parking lot stuff is supposed to go?
Give me, I don't know. Right off the top of my head.
Just wondering what the soil conditions are, if they're uniform or if they shift.
Yeah, we typically only do a boring, I have to look back at the log, but we typically only do a boring in like a parking lot if we knew there would be stormwater management.
Okay, yeah, because the idea of making the parking spaces themselves porous was something that would be an add if we were gonna do it. But if the soil is not compatible with that concept, yeah, so we don't have any information about that. Okay.
Other than that, yeah, I mean, the schedule seems to be holding, they might. On the addition, I'd say it could be a week or two behind, but they don't seem too frazzled about that. There was some concern about the weather and the snow. But the management of that removal on site seems to have been okay. Didn't hold up the framing of the trusses, which are on right now. Big move next will be getting that roof here. That's friction with.
But who has lately been
They've been,
responsive?
yeah, they've been.
Who's that?
better.
Young roofing.
Young developers roofing, yeah. Once we get that roof sheath and shingled, it's gonna be a big deal.
Any change orders for snow removal?
Going on all that.
And is the slate roofer the same as the raised seam roofer?
They don't all package.
This is just the borehole locations from the geotech reports that they're pretty much all under.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a strip over here with one.
Okay, any other questions about budget or construction updates from committee members? Right. So I'll provide just quick updates from the town side. I sent around a copy of our latest monthly project budget report to USDA, so folks could see, you know, what proportion of the project they've paid for so far. I am expecting, I think Malford's got pay rec coming soon, right?
That's what I was just looking at.
Yeah,
Did he send
must
that?
be soon.
Yeah, day, 30 minutes.
So we're a well-oiled machine at this point, so we'll get that turned around and get that 46% back from USDA in short order. Did anyone who got to take a look at the budget report have any question on that?
I had a question about the historic expert component, Mary. Did we have any updates for CPC?
So we had, yeah, Mary was on site last month, or excuse me, December, maybe.
December 19th.
And we're in good shape.
I never did send you, I have it right here. Did I?
I don't know, you might have, but
Must not have.
Or maybe you sent it to me and
I'll do it right now if I haven't already.
probably have. I got too many emails. I'm sure you got the same problem.
But in summary, I'll just read verbatim, window openings, observations on site, especially relating to the window openings, consistent with preservation best practices and supports the install of the historically appropriate replacement windows once approved and delivered. So no conditions were observed that would preclude the installation of the proposed window replacements as submitted. So
Yeah, and we see it now, Rob. Thank you.
I did sound good.
Could you please send a copy of that to Kathy Sylvester and to me so that we can just have that available to us?
No problem.
Other items from the town side, so we have put out RFQ for the meeting room AV system. Greg, who's got some AV knowledge for sure, put that together. And I think we just had some questions come back from prospective bidders on that, or mostly from the state contract for AV. So I sent that around as well to committee members just so they could take a look, see if they had questions about what this system will look like. Yeah, I think the basic idea is because this meeting space is a lot smaller, you know, the mics really aren't going to be so much for amplification as for just, you know, capturing the audio for people who are online. I know that's a major frustration with our current setup, so hopefully this will resolve that. And then, yeah, I know we've just been working with Rob on, dotting our i's, crossing our t's with respect to that. And I think mid-February, we're gonna have some proposals back.
Quotes in by
Yeah.
this 18, 17 or 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the room capture system is, it's not a exact science. So, I mean, if there is some very quiet zones where the array is not, because it'll be sort of over where the select board meets, and that's where. But looking at Montague's room, which is very similar in size, they have the same sort of room capture system. So it's an array of microphones that are like omnidirectional. And it seems to pick up the room fine. It's a little quieter where the audience is, but it's still, if you listen, go online and, listen to the meetings, that you can hear everybody. So, we can, even if it, at the outset, when we turn it on, we can always do enhancements after that. If we need to. So I don't see it as an issue.
These microphones, they include cameras as well as.
Yeah, the whole AV system. So it'll be, we requested a couple of, cameras that will pick up the room and it'll be dialed into remote meetings so that they can, it'll have a switcher and the whole bit. So
it'll just be like a closed loop cameras that not related to building security and.
no, it would just be a closed loop. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Just for AV and for hybrid meetings. So.
Yeah, it'll have panels that both the select board can see or the plan.
Yeah, there's going to be
One behind the.
included. There's going to be a big one behind the select board, so an 86-inch, like smart TV kind of thing, and then one 75-inch on the wall, so that you can see, the people can see, and you have a closet right next door there's a sort of larger closet space for the rack. So that makes it easy to be able to connect, hardwire it in. So should be pretty straightforward. It's not a big room, so it's not like a lot of equipment. Yeah.
And then other updates, just solar on the rooftop. I know we were just talking to Rob about this yesterday. So it sounds like at this point we just need to get some quotes from locals, so purveyors of photovoltaic panels, which I think Tim, you may have already reached out to some folks at this point.
I have one in Northeast Solar, and I didn't want to go beyond that. If we want to design it, if we're under the threshold where we could just order, then we would probably reach out to 3 and say this is what.
Yeah, I think, and so where we left the conversation was we had talked to Malford about using their electrical subcontractor to do the actual installation. John's recommendation was certainly to get multiple quotes if we can. So we'll get a couple more, and then essentially hand the process over to WJ.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be a pretty seamless process.
We have specs that we're giving them so that people are looking at the same
That's what-
thing.
What we need to do is figure out whether, I don't know if a solar contractor who provides that service gets compensated like a $5,000 design fee, whatever that is, and then we shop that to say, and I don't know if it's substantially similar because somebody will use Q-Cell and somebody will use another manufacturer of solar panels.
That's what I'm asking. I
Yeah.
mean, you're gonna end up with oranges and apples here.
Exactly. Well, actually, Northeast was the one that suggested you may want to get a spec that you use as a basis for.
EDM could probably provide that.
Product and.
Yeah.
Some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know I just recently had additional solar spec, and one company's using this brand of solar panel.
Exactly.
And this one is using slightly different, but they both say, that they generate 420 kilowatts. And they have different specs on warranty. So one will be 20 years and one will be 25. The reality of solar panels is that LG doesn't make solar panels anymore. So the warranty I have on my LG panels is probably useless. And that's probably going to be the way it is.
Yeah, so maybe we'll just talk offline
Yeah.
about what makes the most sense in terms of how to approach the design, and definitely EDM.
Do we know the building power needs? I mean, what we're trying to accomplish, we have that, or we need that as well? We're not
It's
gonna
really
come
only-
close to covering.
Yeah,
right?
It's
We're just
dictated by
talking
that
about-
roof area.
Yeah,
on-
okay.
on that-
I think we had a sort
Southern
of
facing.
semi-spec by John and Claire from the agreement. They looked at it and they said, basically it would probably cover your energy cost, but not your distribution side. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see how,
It's pretty small.
I don't see how 55 panels can cover anywhere near the electrical usage of the combined building. It will just supplement, it will knock the price down.
Okay.
And since we have USD money, it makes sense. Go ahead, Julie, sorry.
I think you just said that, but do we have an estimate of power usage for the building? No. Okay. Can we get one?
Well, to be fair, that gets more difficult as your building gets more efficient because so much of it is plug loads.
So much of it is what? I didn't hear that word.
Plug loads, what you guys do in the building.
Right,
Right.
So
A big part of it though is going to be heat and air handling. Can we
I will
get an
ask you
estimate
again
just
about
for
that.
that, for like operating the building regardless, you know, sans plug loads?
Plug-in heaters.
I'm thinking back to, you had mentioned different manufacturers for panel, I'm just thinking from a design contract. It shouldn't matter what panel you get, it's really
Right.
just the engineering.
Right,
How big is this gonna be, where's the inverter?
exactly.
But like Tim said, you're gonna find different warranties
Yeah.
and it's such a range there.
But it shouldn't be a huge, you designed it with, it looked like it was 55 panels on the, and the other slope of the new addition is just not in the right orientation.
Right.
Makes sense. So,
I would just go to the three companies and say, this is the square footage of the roof and the orient, you know, here's the roof. Give me the maximum amount of solar on that roof that you can and see what they come up with and then evaluate the proposals. If you give them a specification based on one guy, then the other two are going to work to that specification, not to what they can do.
right, I mean, that's basically what I was thinking, is that it's such a small array that if we got
Yeah.
Northeast, PV Squared, and Valley Solar or some other company
Yeah,
and said, the setback
here's the roof, do the
requirements,
best you can do.
maximize
Yeah.
the solar array, and tell us, what it's gonna cost.
So the scope of the work would include, I assume that we have like conduit. We own conduit to a location to what, so the scope of work would include the installation, panel themselves, their installation, the wiring this back to the inverter, and then wiring the inverter back up to the system.
Yeah.
Right? That's what the PV people would be providing.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so, yeah, we just, it seems like an RFP that would say maximize the solar potential of the roof. And then you'll get a cost back and then the kilowatt hours that are gonna be produced, and maybe that's the evaluation.
yeah, well, Christopher brought up that probably this could be done under, there's not gonna be $30,000 worth of design fee for this, because that's like half the cost of the whole project. So we don't need to go through an RFP necessarily, if I'm understanding what Christopher's determination was. Can you clarify?
Yeah, well, I think that was the conversation with Rob was, so designer selection law in Massachusetts, there's the $30,000 or $300,000 thresholds. And in this case, the fee is gonna be definitely under 30.
Right,
So we should be good there. I believe it's an and 30 and 300, right? So if even though the building cost is obviously well above 300, that fee for this particular piece is gonna be under 30.
But you're suggesting really a installer spec here.
Right.
It's a design build for the solar company, right?
well, between Rob and Julie, if you were interested in being involved, and Christopher, we can probably get this part done and then hand it off to for, to work it in.
So we'll chat offline about the next step, but I think I've got a sense of what the committee wants to do here, so. Any other items anyone wanted to bring up? I know we've got a construction meeting for the portions of this team momentarily. So I don't want to hold things up, but any other questions about construction or any of the items we talked about today? Okay,
Take a motion to adjourn.
So
Will we
move.
adjourn?
Second,
Second.
all right. Moved and seconded. All those in favor, Julie Caswell,
Yes.
Julie Chalfant,
Aye.
Vern Harrington,
Aye.
Tim Hilchi, aye. Unanimous. Thank you.
all right, thanks, everyone.
Looked at a house this morning that had 50 panels on the edge. This is a resident.